Today we're talking about cold glue.
What is cold glue? What is the best cold glue? What about all the slide hammers? What are we using personally?
When do we use it? How do we use it? All these questions and more are going to be answered today as we're going to dive deep into the world of cold glue for 2024 and look at some of the products that are available today.
Stick around to the end and we're going to go through each glue, temperature ranges, so stick around to see how everything performs. So Matt, cold glue, what is it? What are we talking about here? Is this like hot glue?
It's different than hot glue. This is this sticky substance. Think silly putty, but differences in tackiness. So some is low tack and some is high tack. We'll get into that here in a second, but it's basically different temperature ranges and they're going to pull harder or softer depending upon the need. But cold glue is basically this sticky substance. You can pull and work. You can use it over and over and over. If it kind of dries out, we kind of knead it and it gets sticky again. So what we do is we take this sticky substance and we have to use something to pull the dent out with. And so that's where these different tabs come in. We have various tabs here on the thing.
What tab is that you're using?
So these are the Glexo tabs.
Okay.
These have been out for quite a few years now. And
what is that glue?
This is Sergio green at the moment. You stick the cold glue to the tab. Now you need something to pull the tab with. So they came out with these little adapters that you can fit into any slide hammer and it locks into the slide hammer. You twist it down and now you have a cold glue slide hammer. So you stick this into the panel and then you pull and it essentially bumps the dent out.
So Glexo was kind of like a pioneer in this, right? Like they were one of the first people to really get into this.
I think Colafria was back in the day. There was a guy, I don't know the linking there, but I think Colafria was one of the first ones. And then Glexo was my first introduction to cold glue, which was actually this set. That's why it looks so messy, is because I've had it for a while. But the Glexo set that I have, and there's a few different ones, they have different sizes that are hail size or big smash size. But this is the set that I had. It came with two tabs, this big crease tab, this round tab, and then it came with a stick of the cold glue. So this was my first introduction to cold glue, was the Glexo, and performed really well.
Okay, so let's start with the glues. So what kind of glues do we have that we're gonna use today?
We have Glexo, which is this black. We have some VIP cold glue, which I have not used yet. I got it at MTE earlier this year. Comes on like a fruit by the foot roll up there, and you unroll it. Actually, I have used it. It's on these tabs right here.
Okay, what color is this?
This
I'm
is
colorblind,
blue.
so I can't.
This is blue.
Okay, blue.
Yep. So this is the VIP cold glue. And then some other versions we have here is the Sergio. These are personally at the moment my favorite, my go-to. Sergio, he's out of Brazil. I've spent a little bit of time with him at the different trade shows talking about his stuff. This is what I run on my specific setups, but he has 3 different temperature ranges of that. He has a red, a green, and a blue, and they're designed for different climates and humidities. We'll get into that here in a moment. The newest one, which we haven't tried, haven't even opened yet, is the sticky gum. This is out of the Ukraine. I got this from Metal Medic. He is a distributor for that here in the US.
Okay, that's the glue. So now let's talk about different tabs. So all these tabs are basically the same, right?
Well, in theory of what...
I was kidding.
In theory of what they're actually doing, they're the same. It's just a tab that the glue hooks to that we can hook a slide hammer to. But where we get into is the connection between the slide hammer and the tab. So that's what we're looking for, because so these two here, I mean, these are 10, 15, 20-year-old slide hammers.
That's mine right there.
That have been around forever, right? These have been around forever, so guys have these. So when cold glue came on, guys were wanting to make tabs that connected to an existing slide hammer, which was a really good thought at the moment. So that's where these come in. You can retrofit this into your existing slide hammer and get the most out of that tool for hot glue or cold glue. But then the evolution of that came because there are some pros and cons to those, and we can talk about that in a second. Also, is we got into some variations of that connection. That's where my cold glue system comes in, which is just a simple threaded connection where these just connect by a 5/16.
So what is this?
This is my cold snap.
Okay.
This is a cold glue specific slide hammer. So I released this, I think 2 years ago. And this is...
What's this tab?
So that is a Kiko tab. That is not my tab. That is a Kiko slapper tab that I've put a large amount of Sergio green on. The connection is what we're talking about here, where this is a threaded 5/16 18, where this positively engages in a, let's just say, a semi-permanent way where it's not going to come off unless you want it to come off.
So that's a Kiko. This is not, what's this?
So this is not my tab.
Okay.
This is the
Dent Reaper.
Dent Reaper. It's a pushing tab. I forget what they're called, but they have 3 or 4 pushing tabs that are for pushing. I think it's the crease killer or something.
Okay.
But I've just put cold glue on that, and that does really well.
Why would you use these instead of your own tabs?
Well, I have my own tabs over here, so we can look into that.
Okay.
I have a crease tab too. These are just wider, and they're going to give more of a surface. If we just equate more cold glue to more adhesion, that's why I have them. It's a bigger tab, bigger surface. It adheres more. It'll pull a bigger dent in theory.
Okay.
And sometimes that's what you want, right? Sometimes because we also have some smaller tabs here, which are for less adhesion, less cold glue, pulls a smaller dent.
Okay. Now what about these?
So
What's going on
going
here?
back to connection, we're talking about how they connect to a slide hammer. This is Ken with Metal Medic. He has this unique one. So this is an adapter that would go onto a traditional slide hammer. And then you pop out this pin, and then we're gonna put this cold glue tab in, put that back in, and now that will be a connection to your slide hammer.
So that is made to retrofit with traditional slide hammers?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
It's just that adapter thing. So what we're dealing with, the difference in mine versus some of these others is that these are all adapting to an already existing slide hammer, where mine is designed to be a cold glue specific slide hammer for my tabs. Those are the main 2 differences that we're talking about.
These aren't made out of metal though, right? What are these
Oh,
made out of?
these are made out of forgive me if I'm wrong, but some type of plastic. I don't know what the technical term is, but it is a plastic tab.
Oh yeah, they're really light.
They're really light, and they have these little ridges that are supposed to be able to hold onto the...
More surface area. Okay, so we talked about the glue, we talked about the tabs. Now what about the hammers? Why do we have all these hammers, bro? This is a little bit...
So we just pulled all the hammers that we had laying around the shop or in our vehicles and just kind of showed the difference in what we have. So we have different slide hammers that are really designed about the different weight. So like on this one, just for quick, you can take the weight off. This is a lot bigger.
What is this?
I believe this is a Dent Craft. And then we have this really lightweight one, which is an Anson one. So obviously you're gonna get a different effect out of either of these 2. And what we're really looking for is the weight and the stroke. So this is a big thing too, is the stroke of the slide hammer. As you can see here with this Drew's one, which is a short, what is that, a 4.5 inch stroke, as opposed to like this one by Fast right here, which looks like about an 8 inch stroke. So we're looking at the stroke, we're looking at the weight of the anvil, that's what we're calling this thing, the anvil here.
Okay.
And so you're gonna get a different combination of pull out of the stroke and of the weight. And that's gonna result differently what that looks like to the panel.
Okay, so we have, these are more your traditional ones, right? Over here. Traditional, okay, now right here. So all these are pretty traditional. This one is too. Now we get, these were designed for hot glue tabs, and then some people created these systems to retrofit with this, turn these into cold glue hammers.
Correct.
Okay, now let's go to these 2. This is the same hammer?
Yeah, so these 2 are the same. These are my specific ones that I use. They're a little modded out, if you would. But these were the first that I know of cold glue specific slide hammer. When we sold this with my tabs, with my slide hammer, and it's made to be a threaded positive engagement into the slide hammer, so we're not gonna lose a connection. These were my first slide hammer design. This is a Dent Slayer A1 tool design here, and this is the Cold Snap. Again, it's a little bit modded out. We got the grip and this dodo here, which is for, it's a skateboard thing. Keeps you from getting your fingers pinched in there. But anyhow, these have this threaded system, which you can take this tab off of here, and you can grab another tab with a different cold glue, depending on the temperature or what you need it to do, and you can thread it in, right? So that you basically, the idea is you leave the cold glue on the tabs, you set up your tabs for different situations, and you just change the tab out as needed depending upon the situation, whether it's hail or a big smash.
What are the pros to this versus just hooking into this as far as like screwing it on there?
So the pros to my system is it's not going to come off unless you want it to come off. So the reason I designed this one was because I was having failure issues with the other system. What we had with the other system, let me just grab a slide hammer here, is it's basically like a friction lock here. So you put it in and then you twist it and it locks it in. The problem that I had, and other guys have had too, is that if this comes loose on any level, then when you're mashing this cold glue in, it'll slide out and your slide hammer falls and hits the car and scratches
the panel.
Or
I've done that.
Or like what I'm having right now, where it gets bound up and doesn't want to come out as easy as you think it does. I don't know why it does that, but for some reason, these bind up after you've ripped on it a few times. When you try to take it off, it can be very, very hard where you have to get a tool to assist. Like, look at that. Something about it, they bind up. What I've seen a lot of guys do as a result of that is they leave this in, maybe they even hot glue it in, maybe they tape it in because for one, it gets bound in there, it doesn't want to come out, or it comes out too easily and it scratches the car. So guys were permanently affixing this to it, or semi-permanently fixing this to it with tape or hot glue, whatever, so that doesn't come out, and then they'd buy another slide hammer to have as their traditional hot glue slide hammer. So what I did is said, well then why are we doing this? Why are we doing all this stuff? Why don't we just make one that positively engages to it, that we won't have that issue with it binding up or coming out, which is where the threaded variation comes here. And so we said, if guys are having two slide hammers anyhow, then let's just go ahead and make a cold glue specific slide hammer. Let's design it, not trying to adapt it, let's just design it for cold glue. That way it's set up, it's ready to go. And if you want to switch your tabs, it's easy to do so, not pulling off tape or pulling off hot glue or prematurely coming off when you go to use it and scratching the panel. So that's where the cold snap was born out of, was not trying to adapt anything, just trying to make it specific for the cold glue system.
Okay, so traditional, cold glue specific. Now what about these bad boys?
So these are the evolution of this. So with any slide hammer, what we're doing is when we go to pull, there's this reset function where we have to reset it back to its ready to adhere or pull position. And a lot of guys do this motion here where they're tossing it and they're catching it. And you're trying to manage all of this while you're working on the vehicle. Sometimes you get pinched here if your timing's off and you're trying to catch it. You get pinched and it'll create a blood blister here and it can be quite painful if you catch it wrong. We believe this is a very, very useful tool. As you can see, I use these every day just by the look of them here. But we wanted something, the next evolution of that, which is a auto returning slide hammer. So that's where the AR9 came from. This one is, we have a really small tab on here with Sergio blue. And what this does is after you stick it to the car and you pull it, it auto returns to that reset position. So what you're doing is you're avoiding getting any kind of pinch, because you can grab it higher now because you're not trying to catch it also. So you grab it higher and you're gonna stick it to the panel and pull, and then as it releases, it auto resets, and so that you can go again. So it makes you faster. You're not worrying about this slide hammer like this one. If you don't catch it right and it falls, it can hit the car. So you have to know what you're doing and be skilled to catch it, but also not get pinched, because if you can get pinched, or this can fall and hit the car and scratch the car. And so we wanted something that was an auto returning feature, so that it hooks to the car, you pull, and it resets it. It manages that stroke for you.
So basically this is just making you more efficient.
Makes you more efficient, and it
less taxing maybe on your body.
Also, it's managing the risk, because there's risk, like I said, of this falling and hitting the car. There's risk of getting pinched, or there's risk of the tab coming out and slinging across the shop or falling and hitting the car. And so this came out of it lessens the risk. Also, out of this one, we have 3 variations of it. 2 I have here, which is the original AR9, and then the AR long, which is just a longer stroke.
So we talked about what all this stuff is right here. You know what? We missed one thing here. What are we doing with this?
We're gonna do that when we get into wear.
We talked about what we have. Now, who is this for? Should every PDR technician be doing cold glue in the same way? Who would cold glue help the most?
You know, the onset, it was designed for a PDR technician, but also I believe, you know, with the onset with glue pull repairs for body shop, cold glue is a great option for any body technicians who are wanting to bulk out damage, to get damage out quicker with a least invasive means. So whether or not you're a PDR technician, and let's just say as a PDR technician, whether or not it's a hail technician or a wholesale technician, or if you're a retail technician, you should definitely have cold glue in your setup. If you're a body shop technician, I would look into these also. I would think it could greatly reduce some of the time you're doing for your repairs, whether or not it's detrimming or mud work or whatever that is. I think you should definitely look into cold glue for aiding in collision style repairs.
Would a route tech have the same general setup as like a hail tech? Who's using this? Who's this thing the best for versus, you know, something like this?
If I'm a PDR technician, I'm gonna have all forms of this. Now this is my specific preference here, but I have all of these because I use all of these. If you're just a hail technician and you're not encountering body damage stuff, then you're not gonna need a big tab like this, and you're not gonna need a 3-pound sledgehammer like this. If you're just a hail specific technician, then you could use something lighter, similar to these, or you know, something smaller because you're doing smaller dents where you're using hot glue or cold glue. But if you are doing route work or you're doing retail work, then I would have a good lineup of all of these because you're gonna encounter that type of damage from small to larger damage. And so you want to be able to address any of that style damage.
So I'm a route tech, and so I keep quarter size tab on the AR9 at all times, and then I have a crease tab on a cold snap. So that just helps me be more efficient, like if I'm doing a dealership where, I mean, on quarter panels, bedside, stuff like that, I'm going, get that thing with cold glue. It keeps me from having to R&I something. I'm usually going for cold glue, usually going with the AR9, but if it's on some kind of crease or on some kind of body line and it's soft enough, I'm going with the cold snap with that crease on there. This one right here, the one that comes with it. And so that stays on this for me, and then the quarter, this thing stays on this for me.
And that should address a wide variation of damage.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking to do is, you know, we never know the damage we're going to encounter from day to day. We want to have the tools and also the knowledge to be able to address that.
Back to me using these things, I went this whole week, I heated up my hot glue gun one time. So I'm using cold glue basically in the place of hot glue now. I mean, it's not the same. It's close enough for me to where I don't even keep my hot glue hot. I just keep it, it's there if I need it, but usually I'm able to do it with the cold glue. That's just how I'm doing it.
With the right conditions and the right setup and prep and with the right tools, you can get some fantastic results out of cold glue. That will be comparable to hot glue. That doesn't mean you're not going to need hot glue. There's still, you absolutely will need hot glue. This isn't to replace hot glue by any means. This is another tool in the arsenal. Sometimes with hot glue, it's too much adhesion. So much it gives too much of a pull. But also, hot glue, I believe, introduces a little bit of element of risk into the repair.
Yeah, so why would we use cold glue versus hot glue?
So the damages are really going to dictate what you use and when you use it. So that's going to range from specific cases for the damage. But what we're looking for with cold glue is softer impressions. We're not looking for sharp, caved in, folded in damage. You're not really going to fix anything with cold glue because, to get nerdy here for a second, the tack of the glue is not going to overcome the tension of the damage. So we're looking for damage with low tension in it that this glue tack will overcome, because this only holds on for a split second and it's got to correct that damage within that time frame. And so if that damage is tight and locked up and folded in on itself, cold glue is not going to do anything. So that's where hot glue would come in. Cold glue will correct a lot of damage that is softer, gentler, not a lot of tension built into it from the damage, like with crowns and and body lines. Cold glue won't really cure it if it's locked up damage. But anything that's softer, cold glue is a good candidate for. And that softer, when I say, that can be from hail damage, because there's guys who are doing full roofs, full cars, full roof rails with just this system here. So that goes from hail damage up to larger, more complicated retail style damage.
Are you saying that cold glue is more effective on some panels than other panels and different spots on panels?
Absolutely. When we talk about tension, just talk about tension for a minute, because that's a big word in the PDR industry. About lateral tension and all those things. But talking about another type of tension, which is the natural tension that the panel comes with from the factory. So every panel comes with its natural tension in it, or its natural state. The way that it was stamped, the way that that panel was formed from the factory. And that will be any kind of curve or feature. If it's just a flat panel, it's going to have different tension properties versus a panel that has body lines and feature lines and contours. It should have less tension, and I'm saying natural tension being the body lines and features that are formed in the vehicle. So when we're talking about, for this video, we're talking about tension, we're talking about tension from the damage, from the impact. Whether or not it's a crunched in body line that's not in its natural state that it came from the factory, or whether or not that's tension that's created from the damage, like a body line, or I'm sorry, a crown. Those are tension spots in the panel, and the harder those tension angles become, the less effective cold glue becomes. Because again, you're asking cold glue to remove that damage, so you're asking it to overcome those tension forces, and this isn't strong enough to do that in most cases. In most cases, you have to correct or assist those other tension systems that have been created from that damage and relax it and soften the panel. Now you can implement cold glue to aid in correcting that damage.
What kind of situation are you using cold glue in?
So,
and then what kind of temperature ranges? Any temperature ranges for any cold glue?
So
what about tabs? When are we using specific tabs? Is everything dependent on conditions and panels and all that stuff?
There's a broad spectrum there, from the conditions to the damage. Those are all going to dictate what you use and when you use it and how you use it. So I can't just give you one flat answer for what to use and when to use it. There's a lot of variables in there, and that comes with having the right training and having the right knowledge about what you're doing and when to do it and how to do it. What I would say is, generally speaking, smaller tabs are for smaller damage, larger tabs are for larger damage. Smaller stroke slide hammers with lower weight are for softer pulls. Larger, bigger slide hammers with longer strokes are for larger damage. Smaller tools, smaller damage. Larger tools, larger damage. And that goes for the tabs too. You know, we have the small tabs up to, tabs like this. They have a time and a place, a technique on how to use them also, and an expectation of what it's going to do. Please don't underestimate that too. You have to understand what the expectation is for what you're asking out of the tool. So if you're asking this tab to unfold a caved-in door, well, you've set the expectation too high. That's not going to happen. If you're asking this to correct a hail damage dent, well, that's the right expectation. You have to understand the expectation or the limitations of what these tools can do and what the cold glue can do. Because at the end of the day, this is the magic. The cold glue is the magic. These are all tools that assist the cold glue to the panel and that adhesion, that connection to get it out. And so we have to understand what tools to use and when to use them. And we also have to understand the cold glues. Goes into, some of these are set up to release quicker because maybe you don't want to over pull the damage. Some of them are set up to hold on, to adhere longer because maybe you need it to hold on longer to help get the damage out. We're gonna have different tackiness of the glue. Those have different expectations of what they're supposed to do. But then in that, you're going to have the conditions of the panel, right? So if you have a very hot panel and a very low tack glue, then it's going to come off very quick. If you have a very cold panel and a very low tack glue, it's not even going to stick. In the wintertime, for me here in Florida, this stuff almost turns to plastic. It gets so hard. And so this glue,
Sergio blue.
this is Sergio blue. The green also. It literally almost turns into like a resin, it feels like, because it's so hard just from the ambient temperature. So that's why you have to swap to a softer, more pliable glue.
So it's almost like the same way that you have to use different hot glues for different situations. It's the same with cold glue.
Absolutely. There's not a one glue cures all remedy here. In dead of winter, if I pull a black car into my shop that is hotter than the ambient temperature and I try sticking this to it, it won't do anything. It just turns into basically chewing gum. As soon as you hook it, it just stretches and it's not having any pulling factor because it's just too hot. So you're either gonna have to cool the panel down or switch to a different glue.
So just like hot glues, where they're made for a certain range, but then you can also manipulate some of the factors to help you stretch.
Yes, you can cheat it.
Yeah.
You can cheat the factors. Well, that's cooling the vehicle down or heating the vehicle up or cooling the glue down or heating the glue up. There's lots of things you can do to kind of cheat those variables, but at the end of the day, those variables have to be met in order for the tools to function as you need it to function. So we are limited to those variables on what they will do in those conditions.
We've really been running our mouths a lot. Can you show us how to use some of this stuff?
Let's do some cold glue.
All right.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so now we're gonna get into more how-tos, but I'm not gonna be in these parts because I need to get the camera and use the gimbal.
Perfect.
All right?
I'll do all the.
All right, let me grab the camera.
So step one is you want to connect the cold glue to the tab. So we got a couple versions here. We're gonna do mine. So
Which one is this?
this is one of the cold snap quarter size tabs. So I'm just gonna clean it here with some alcohol. Try not to get the alcohol on the other glue over there. I'm just gonna clean it, and then I'm just gonna flash it here with a torch. Just to get any residual off. Should be good to go now. Next, I'm gonna go with some sticky gum. I don't have any tabs here set up with the sticky gum. We literally just got that yesterday. So I'm going to cut a piece of sticky gum to put on here. The instructions say to do it with a wet blade from your knife. So I just wet my blade, and this stuff is pretty brutal, so it's not gonna cut easy. At least the other ones don't. So I'm gonna cut off a small sample here just to get it off the block, and then I can alter it once I get it. So we gotta get tough with it here. And that's not working.
Bro, this is not by the directions.
Well, I know, but there we go. So
I think you just voided your warranty.
we got a nice sample size off. I'm gonna pull a little bit off here. I think it's a little too generous for what I'm trying to do. So here we go.
Let me see how much you got.
So just about the size of the tab. What I've learned is that you don't just want it on the surface, you want this tab embedded kind of, so here's another one that I use every day, and it helps it when it kind of goes around the side flanges of the tab. So, and what I also have learned in the beginning is it doesn't stick the first, it needs about a dozen pulls or so before it really starts locking to the tab. At some point, it literally just becomes bonded to the tab, to where if you want to get it off, you can, but you have to try. But these first few pulls, I don't expect it to stay on, and that's normal. I've seen that with different tabs and with different glues. We're gonna put it on here, do some pulls with it, and I wouldn't be surprised if the glue sticks to the panel at this point. So now I'm just putting my tab into my cold snap. So it's positively engaged in there, it's not gonna go anywhere. And then normally what I like to do, make sure your hands are fairly clean. When I say that, loose debris, we're not looking for any kind of loose debris, but I'll always try to make it look like a Hershey's Kiss. And try to give it a little point. That way I know kind of when I'm putting it into the dent, I'm trying to get to the center of the dent. And so it helps to kind of knead the glue and also to kind of create that deep point that you're trying to put into the deep part of that dent. So that's what I'm doing there. So for this video, we're not trying to show a repair happening with cold glue. That's not the point of this. There's plenty of videos on that. What we're trying to show is how the different glues respond, how they adhere differently, whether or not it's to the tab or how the slide hammer works, or just how it adheres to the panel and some of the conditions that you need to control, be able to get the best adhesion to the panel. So forget about any dents. That's not the goal of this video. It's really just to show this thing and the connection to the panel. Following what we did with the tab, I want to clean the panel with alcohol. Just make sure that it's fairly clean. And there's nothing loose, no dirt, no dust, no road grime on it. Also, it should be noted, if it has ceramic coating on it, you really got to remove the ceramic coating from the panel, at least where the damage is, because it's not going to stick. Ceramic coating is designed for things not to stick, that being hot glue or cold glue. So no ceramic coating to the area you're working on, or you have to remove it prior. What I like to do is wipe it down with the alcohol, at least get it clean for the most part. Then you can come in and you can flash it with your torch. That's getting any condensation or any leftover alcohol residue off the panel and trying to get it as clean as possible. What it's also doing is it's warming it a little bit, so this isn't hot at all. What we don't want is too warm. So this panel's been here all day. It's not been outside sitting in the sun. If it was, we would need to cool it. But this is room temperature. I got a temperature gun here and we can show you what it is. So 83 degrees, 84 degrees. So it's relatively cool. We may need to warm this panel. We're gonna find out. But we at least want it, as far as the cleaning properties, before we go into the temperature, we're just trying to clean it. Alcohol, a torch are the ways that I would suggest. So the panel is clean. The panel is room temperature. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. This is room temperature. It's not that come out of the refrigerator and it hadn't been sitting in my truck, so it's room temperature here. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna stick it to the panel. And what we wanna do is we wanna rock it in. You can do a twisting motion. I like to do this rocking motion, and that just gets that, squishes out the surrounding and just compresses that glue and gets it locked, gets that tab locked in. Once it's locked in, you might want to let it dwell for a minute where it just kind of is there for about a second, second and a half, and then you're going to give it a good snap.
Ooh.
That was good. As you can see, we prepped it right, conditions are right, we got a really good pull.
Okay, what would you give that pull from 1 to 10?
That's a 10. It met and exceeded expectations.
So you pulled it and it stayed on, so you got all the pull out of that you wanted.
Yes, and honestly, if it held on too much, then that would kind of be bad, because now that's slowing me down to trying to get this thing off, which is what we run into with hot glue, right? So you want this window of adhesion and not adhesion. If it doesn't hold on enough, then it doesn't do the job you're asking it to do. If it holds on too much, now you're wasting time trying to get it off. So this met and exceeded expectations for those two pulls. Let's try it again and see if we can do it. I'll scoot over a little bit. I'm going to mash it into the dent. I'm going to let it dwell for a second, and then when I'm ready, I'm going to give it a good snap.
Really good.
That is the expectation I want out of it. I got a better pull out of the first one, but that was still great as far as what I'm asking this stuff to do.
Okay, now what's left on the panel here?
So we got a little residue from the glue. So you're going to find in all these glues, they leave different residues depending upon the different glues and depending upon different climates. If it's a really hot day, you're probably going to leave some of this on the panel and you're going to have to clean it off. Some glues do better or worse. So when you're done, you're going to have to come in here, get alcohol. You want something low grit. I mean, I've seen guys removing some of this cold glue residue and you can scratch the panel. We had one of these set up at MTE last year where we were cold gluing all day. And at the end of the day, from guys cold gluing all day and then removing the residue, it was severely scuffed up. So it can scuff the panel, so you have to be cautious.
When you say scuff, are you talking about something that can be fixed, or are you talking about?
No, it can be buffed. It can be buffed, I believe. I mean, as long as you don't have trash in your cold glue. But yeah, it can leave some scuffing or some dull marks from whether or not you had just grittiness in the glue, your towel, what you're doing. So you just want to be careful when you're removing the cold glue. I try to use my fingers if possible before I switch to any kind of rag. I've even seen the microfiber rags do that. And so just be careful. If you do it too much, you will have to buff out.
So you're spraying it on the panel or on the rag?
So I'm spraying it on the panel. I usually try to find out what it is and gently rub it with my finger to try to get, and you kind of feel if it's gone or not. And you're just wiping it off and making sure that it's clean.
And you're using a disposable paper towel? Like, is that what you usually use?
Yeah,
That's
because,
what I use.
well, what's gonna happen is you will get little pieces of cold glue that are left over that get in here. And then later, if you have a microfiber, you're gonna rub it somewhere else and it'll leave cold glue on the panel. So
I use those blue shop towels. Now, what's this?
These are the disposable shop towels, disposable rags.
Okay, that's what he's using, this right here. White rags.
But you do want to be careful. You make something that it is low grit or it's not coarse, you know? So very soft. It's stuck good, and I would attribute that to good prep on everything. And if you look, it stuck to the tab. I expected it to come off the first few pulls, and it did not come off. And those were 3 pretty strong pulls. It did not come off. So as far as right now, this stuff has met or exceeded expectations for me as far as the actual glue. So now after we've performed the technique to pull the dent up, now we would set this down, we would clean the panel, and hopefully the dent is level or probably a little bit proud or high. We can come in here and we can knock it down and blend it back down, and then we're done.
And then what if if there is some scuffs, then what?
Then you're gonna have to get a polisher and polish it out.
All right, so now we know how to do cold glue. We want to test. We want to test all these different glues, see what works best.
Let's test some glue. Let's test some prepping hacks, if you will. So there's a few variables to get the results we want. So let's just go through some of those variables and see what kind of results we get going through the variables. So this is going to be a summer experiment. It is May here in Florida. This is our main season, whether not a tail or whatever it is. So we're gonna use our sample for this type of climate and weather and show you how they hold up. What we've done is we put a bag of ice on the door just to show you the difference between a cold panel and a warm panel. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this really cold. We're gonna leave this room temperature, and I'm gonna make this really hot. And I'm gonna show you how the same glue tab works on the 3 different ones to show you just a sampling of the differences. And right now it's already down to 50 degrees behind the bag of ice here. Let's just see. 49.
Dang.
So let's see what our ice is. 30, 82. So understand this. These are not all designed to work under the same conditions. The point of these is that some do better in colder conditions. Like in my experience, the Glexo does better when it's colder outside. Whereas the harder, the stiffer glues do better when it's warmer outside. So they're not all designed to work. Like, you can't judge them by what I'm doing here because one's not gonna do as good here because it's designed to be cold weather. So that's not the point, is to like, oh, this is the best one, this is the one you need to get. You really need to get a sampling of them to be able to have, for all your variable conditions, whether or not it's summer or winter or high humidity or low humidity. So we don't want to judge them against themselves. That's not the point of this. We're just trying to show you how they perform under these circumstances that we have here.
And we're in Florida, so what's the humidity right now? Probably very high, very high.
We're gonna show you that here. Don't get all hung up on which one does better or not, because they all have their uses. Just like thinking about like a tool tip. Is a sharp tip better or a big soft tip? It depends on what you're doing, right? So it's not one's better than the other. They all have their place. We're just trying to figure out where that place is. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take my cold snap with the Glexo, and we're gonna go over 3 temperature ranges here. So we're gonna have extremely cold, and we're gonna have kind of ambient room temperature, and then I'm gonna heat this pretty hot and see how it works over that range. And this is just the Glexo Black on a quarter-size tab with my cold snap.
So this is Glexo.
This is gonna be the Glexo.
What are we at?
Jeez, it's at 60, what happened?
No. No, dude, that's way colder.
Did it,
Does it heat up that fast?
$70 where I touched it.
Holy crap.
It's cold to the touch.
70. Okay. 72. Okay. 70. She's heating up fast. 72. Okay. This is Glexo. Good.
Really strong pull.
Strong pull.
I'm gonna do another
So
one here.
like 70, 72.
Let it dwell for a second.
Strong.
Super strong.
Okay.
Like, super strong. Exactly what I want out of this. Around there. Let it dwell for a second. Very, very strong pull.
Okay. So
Those are all high.
72, where are we at?
72.
As low as we got.
So I just marked that. That's what it was, 72 degrees when I pulled it. What's it at now? Go right through here. You can see the residue.
76, 77.
Okay, so it's warming up, but right after we pulled it, it was at 72 degrees. Very strong pulls. Let's just go ahead and say, in my opinion, that pull was a 10.
10, okay.
Out of expectations for that size glue.
Okay.
All right, let's move over here. What is this at? What temperature is that at?
82.
82.
83.
10 degrees colder.
Okay, let's see.
Let's see what it does. Give me a red dot. 82?
80, 83 and a half, but send it.
All right, ciao. So I can tell you it gave me a little less.
Less.
It gave me less resistance at the apex of the. That was better. I would honestly say this is about a 9. It's a strong pull, but that one was a little bit more. So at 82.
Like an 84.
Okay, 84. It did a little.
So it's starting to lose though.
It was still strong. It was still good.
Strong. Okay. Still in the working temperature. Okay.
Let's just say it was a 9.
Okay.
Because it
right.
felt good, but not as good as the.
All right.
10. So we're gonna go over here, and
Or 150, 200. Try it again. 111, 19, 17. What are we at? What are we doing?
so it did pretty good, but I'm feeling less resistance. Even though it maybe sounds the same, it's hooking up a little bit less.
Okay.
Now it's still a good pulls. I would say that's probably a 6 in my opinion.
Okay.
It's not as nearly good as a 10 over there. This was a 6. So as you can see with this glue, the colder it was, the better it worked, in my opinion. So now we can do the same thing. I'll put the ice down. We're gonna try to cool the panel. So some of the variables that we're not able to control here, because there's so many, right? We can't make it colder. It's hard to make it colder outside. We're trying to do that with ice. Maybe if I had like a air duster, I could do something. But also, if it was a 110 degree day, like if I was in freaking Phoenix in the middle of summer, there's no way that Glexo Black would have pulled on a 6. So, because what we're not doing is having the glue at that same hot temperature too. So I can try heating that, but it's not gonna be the same as if it was just ambiently hot. If I artificially heat this, I don't believe it's the same as if it just was sitting in your truck all day. So the point is there's some variables that we're not gonna be able to answer here. So I'm gonna go right to the Sergio green. So I had the one of my tab holders in the freezer trying to chill the glue to show you what it's like when it's cold. So here, come close and see. So I just pulled it out. So this is the softest. Feel that, James. Put your fingernail on it. Do the other two.
Oh dang, that's rock hard.
It's literally like
Very hard, ice, but then this, what's that, VIP?
It's VIP.
That is the softest.
So it's literally like almost like a resin. It's not usable. We'll show you. We'll take it right out and put it on the panel and show you. So this is Sergio green, right out of the freezer. Let's throw it in. 0.
Hold on, flash the panel.
What's the panel at?
83?
What's the glue at?
53. 52. 52.
So let me just show you guys something. So I have my knife here. I just want to show you how hard it is. Like it literally becomes like resin. It's not, you can't knead it. I mean, you're gonna have to knead it for a long time to get it workable. But at this point, when you go to try to put it into the panel,
nothing's happening. Try to flash the panel.
There's nothing.
Though. I know it's not gonna do anything, but. All right.
So you might get some kind of topical grab because of
97.
nothing. So here's what we do know, is that the colder it is, the harder stuff is workable. People ask me, you know, what glue do I use? That's a frequent question. And it really depends on your climate. So what I tell people, if you're in a colder climate, then you want a softer glue because you'll have more of a seasonal workability that it's softer. If I were to put that Glexo in the freezer for the same time, it would be more workable. This is literally like the softer the glue, when you grab it and it's in the package, the softer it is, the better it does in cold climates. The firmer it is, the better it does in warm climates. So what's gonna happen is hot summer day in Phoenix with 110 degrees, you can see if I put Glexo Black on a hot car, it's just gonna be like chewing gum.
Yeah.
Versus if I put this on that same panel, this is gonna hook up a lot harder.
I think Big Dent Dave puts his cold glue in a fridge. Like he powers a fridge in his van and puts his cold glue in there. He's in Phoenix.
That would be good for the softer glues because they're not going to get firmer
he
in the
has
fridge.
To do that even with the hotter ones, with the harder
Phoenix
hot weather.
Phoenix is just on another level then because that's hot.
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, I don't know what it's like cold gluing in Phoenix, but I would imagine there's all kind of variables. But we're trying to cheat those variables.
Right.
And it depends on the glue, it depends on the panel, it depends on the ambient temperature, it depends on the temperature of the glue. So hopefully this gives you some kind of baseline for understanding how cold glue works.
So to cheat, so usually I'm using Sergios Blue here in Florida, and to cheat it cold, I'll sit my hammer upside down in the cup holder and turn the AC on to cool it off if it's getting too gummy.
Yeah.
Just aim the vent right at the thing. Glue.
If your glue is getting too gummy, then it
needs to be cooled off.
Either the panel and or your glue needs to be cooled off.
Or both if you can.
It's just everything's too hot for its workability range. This is a sticky gum because that's what I had on my tab.
Okay,
so
I'm doing sticky gum.
Yep.
72 right there.
Not as good.
Not as good.
No,
What?
I mean, I don't even know if that's a 2.
Not even
I don't know that it would have moved metal.
Okay. Wait. Okay, we're at about 70.
Out of moving metal score, maybe a 2.
Okay, 2.
If 1 is not moving metal, I mean, it might have done something, but not much.
Okay.
So let's put that as yeah, nothing.
Nothing.
Not even fighting me. It's not good at all.
2. Okay. All right.
Much better.
Okay.
We're moving up. We're moving up in strength. That definitely went up. You guys want to flash it?
Yeah, let's flash it. Yeah. 10.
Yeah. That was a 10.
10. Okay.
That was a very strong pull.
10. Sticky gum in the mid-range is a 10.
The hotter the panel got, the weaker it got.
Okay. So what are you saying? Glexo was
I'm not
6.
saying nothing. The panel is telling me that it doesn't like a hot panel.
Okay.
Let's go to 4.
Okay.
So while we're waiting for this panel to cool down, I wanted to talk to you about pulling technique. So I guess there's 2 real ways as far as pulling. So one is this way, and you're pulling with a lot of shoulder muscle. And the other way that I would suggest is with your tricep. And I believe that's a better way to pull because your shoulder your tricep muscle is much stronger than your shoulder. And also your reach, you're gonna get much farther reach and range, effective reach and range pulling this way, and you'll get a lot quicker snap. When you pull this way, you have to get closer to get a good pull on it. You know, out here, it's really hard. So generally what guys do is they'll put it out here and then they'll come way up and then they'll throw their whole body into it and snap it. I think you're using a smaller muscle group when you do that, which is your shoulder. You're gonna put yourself up for injury versus this way, you can get farther down along the panel and you can snap it with your tricep. You're gonna get a quicker snap, and I believe you're gonna get you're gonna get further away from the panel, and you're using a larger muscle group. So whether or not, if you're on a roof, reaching across a roof, instead of doing this way, just try this way, and just try snapping with your tricep and see what it does. I try to do all my pulls that way. Whether or not I'm down here pulling and getting a tricep extension, on a roof rail, the same way, or on a roof. I think you're gonna have a lot better pulls using the tricep.
And avoiding injury.
You're
just fatiguing that same muscle group. You can, even if you just want to switch it up sometimes, just so you don't.
If you just think about the muscles you're using to hold this right here, and then you have to do this really fast, explosive movement up, like that's a very unnatural thing to do as far as your muscles go. But as opposed to this is a much stronger group, and I can very easily, very strong, just extend that arm and get a really good snap that way. So I think it's just better technique to pull with your tricep than with your shoulder muscle. As far as leverage, reach, range, all that stuff. So check this out. My kids are in the Muay Thai. If you extend your arm straight out versus if I reach over, I have much longer range when I roll my shoulder over than if I just stand straight and extend it straight out. Look at that. That's got to be what, 4 inches range difference. Rolling my shoulder over versus coming in straight. So doing that, you're winning all around. Using stronger muscle groups, you're extending your range, less fatigue, and you can get flatter and farther down that panel to see what you're doing. I think it's much better. Try that. Oh, very strong. Let it dwell. Really good. I mean, that's got to be a 10.
That's a 10.
That's a 10.
Ooh, that's a 10, huh?
Yeah, that was a good one too. This definitely had a better hookup, but I think we still got the same results. If anything, this one was a little harder to get off, where I got the same pull out of this, but it came off a little easier and with less residue. I think we're getting the same strength pulls. It came off better and left less residue.
Okay.
So it's still a 10. Another important factor we don't want to ignore here is the natural tension on this panel that I was talking about. So we have this natural, let's just say it's a contour line, and then it goes into a reverse contour line. So the pull up here, where there's natural tension that exists, is going to be different than the pull down here. And so I'm trying to keep all my pulls up in this range where I believe you're going to get the same pull here versus in this negative body line. It's going to be a way different result here than there. This metal is stronger because it has a crown to it, let's just say, or a bow to it. So it has built-in tension versus this is a little negative. So pulling this way, it's going to be weaker. So I want to keep all my pulls north of here.
Go.
Yeah, those are all high. I'm gonna say that's a 10 because it's doing everything I need it to do, right? It pulled 10 across all of them.
Oh, and okay, let's talk about this. This Sergio's blue seems different than what I have on my
Yeah,
tabs
this
right
is
now.
a new formula. I just got it from him in Italy. So let me just pan over here.
Seems less grainy as the old.
So this is the other Sergio blue.
Yeah.
So that's VIP, this is Sergio blue, and this is the new Sergio blue. So supposedly it's a different formula. I haven't even tried this formula yet. This is what's on my tabs. We just put this on for this test. It came out of a brand new package right here. So this pulls really good. It pulled a 10 out of all three of the conditions.
Green, yeah.
Sergio green. Just gonna prep the panel briefly. Ready?
Yeah. Ooh, good one.
Bam! That
What was
hooked up.
that?
That hooked up hard.
Horde. What was that?
Sergio.
Ooh, good one.
10.
10. 10. Yep.
Not as strong.
Not as strong. Bruh, I ain't trying to be here all day.
You done failed that test.
What is this?
This is VIP.
VIP. Let's kick it. Ooh.
Very, very hard pull.
Very good.
While the panel's cold, let's do the red.
Okay, okay.
Sergio red. Sergio red.
Ooh, good.
Both good pulls. Ready?
Yeah. What is this?
This is VIP.
What do you think?
No good.
Nothing.
That was better.
$102, hold on. It needs to be hotter. 109, 110 right here. Yeah, it was about 110.
Just not as much resistance. Nope. You're not fighting me.
VIP.
7.
7. Okay.
Yeah, just letting loose.
So
It doesn't feel like the metal's moving. Sounds good, but not, it's just not sticking.
not hard. What do you give it?
No. I mean, I'm gonna give it a freaking 4.
4. Okay.
They all have their desired range of where you should be using them.
Okay, so we didn't test out Ken's new plastic tabs yet, so we're gonna do that real quick.
Yeah, we're gonna
Put sticky gum or what?
we can put sticky gum. The good thing about Ken's little tab system is it does fit in my slide hammer, and goes in really well. So you pull the little pin out, and you can change out the tabs. It's just a different system. It's cool, but his are all plastic, like, so that's the main difference here. So let me flash this. So what glue do you want to use? We want to use sticky gum?
Use this sticky gum. I think that's what he likes, so that's probably what he made this thing. Made it for.
I feel like Chevy Chase in European Vacation when he's looking through the newspaper. No, Christmas Vacation, after you cut down that tree with all the tree sap. Christmas Vacation. Let's go ahead and test it real quick and see. So it fits mine, obviously, because it's got the thread situation here.
So this, you have an adapter for, he makes an adapter for your style hammer.
Yes, I think it's supposed to be a universal adapter. So let's see. So you're supposed to put the nut on here, and then it should tighten in. So let's see. It doesn't fit. So this slot is too narrow for the thread.
For what hammer?
I don't know what this is, man. This is, I don't know who made this. I forget. This is pretty old, but does not fit. So can you guys see what's going on here? It's just the shaft. The threads are too wide for the slot. Okay, so this is the Anson one. This is one I got from Anson. It's a real light one, and it fits.
Ooh. 84 right there. Ooh, yeah.
So if you're asking a plastic tab versus a metal tab, I don't see a major difference. So
Every single glue had at least one tin.
yeah, because they all, so if you just look at here, so I'm gonna, well, let's mark where all the tins are here. The Sergio blue had 3 tins for all of the controlled temperatures that we tested.
At 85 degree ambient temperature.
Yeah, like our shop is 85 degrees.
Yep.
So
everything here is at 85 degree weather.
yeah, I mean, whether or not it's the tabs
Basically 100% humidity.
or the glue. Yep. So then you can see the softer glues do better in the colder temperatures, just like I was saying. The softer glues do much better in the colder temperatures. These did good all around. You know, you can see these go down as it gets colder. This one really did well in the room temperature. These consistently did well through all the temperature ranges. One thing that we're not addressing in this experiment is the variations in the temperature of the glue. So I think I showed, you know, on the video where I put this in the refrigerator and this turns into a rock. So you're gonna have to either flash it, pull it off, knead it, and get it warm if you want to use it on a cold day. So what I do, again, we have different tabs set up with different glues, so you can just use a different glue depending upon the day or the season or the time or whatever. If it's morning time and it's cool outside, or if it's 2 or 3 in the afternoon and it's hot, or it's hot in your shop, you're just gonna switch between the tabs. You're not gonna have to be pulling glue off and changing out glue. That's the whole point of some of these systems. So get yourself a few of the glues. You know, pick your climate and pick what you think you saw performed well. I'm an advocate in having all of them. Like, I bought all of them, so I'm going to use all of them. But I'm going to have different tabs set up to use at different places and times, and even different types of damage. I mean, if I know something I want to hold on and not let go, but if I'm doing hail and I don't want it, I mean, I don't want to be pulling my rails high. I want to be pulling them flush and then letting go. You might want to use a lighter tack glue. Like, that's the point of it. So,
May 3rd, 2024. So, beginning of May in Northeast Florida, we're in St. Augustine, 100% humidity, 85 degrees.
Yeah.
That's what this is. I mean, you change any of those, you change the ambient temperature, you change the temperature of the glue, and you change the temperature of the tabs. So, that's just what this is.
You can cheat some of these variables by either cooling the panel or heating the panel like I showed, prepping the panel correctly, or you can take a mini buffer and just lightly buff the area, and it's gonna hook up way stronger if you buff it. I don't know what it is. You tell me what you think it is in the comments of why it hooks up better. It just does.
With what, compound polish?
If you buff it with a compound, lightly, nothing crazy, just hit it, wipe it off, it's gonna hook up way stronger. So it may be doing something to the panel, maybe it's warming it, right? So, okay, but I think it's also doing something to the finish. Maybe it's filling in some of the variations in the paint texture, and it's making it just a more fine, flatter finish that you get way more adhesion to. I don't know. So last kind of thing to go over here, we talked about some of the natural tension in this panel. We have this sharp body line here. We have a negative, and then we have let's just call this a body line / feature line that comes across here, where it's just this nice rolling contour, and then it goes into this negative body line here. The pull you're going to get out of here is going to be way more traumatic than a pull that's up in here. So as this will be the metal is firmer here, and it's going to get looser as it comes down through this. So I'm just going to show you kind of a series of pulls. Very strong pull. this is going to be pretty traumatic to the door. So that could be really bad depending on what you're trying to do. I mean, you could overpull, you could distort something, you can pull some crowns, you're getting way too much trauma. So this is an instance where you might want to go to a smaller tab or a lighter glue because you're not trying to do all that. This is, as far as connection, this is all connecting really, really well. But I guarantee you, that's not how you want to approach a repair, is getting that kind of reaction out of this cold glue. It's just this whole panel, I can see it. Bloop.
So be careful in negative body lines.
Be careful in negative body lines, or go to a smaller tab. You know, understand what you're trying to do. At the end of the day, you're the technician, you're the expert. So you need to understand the tools. That's why we're doing the video. You need to understand the tools. You need to understand the areas that you're trying to address, the repair. You need to understand the things that we talked about in here with the body lines and the natural tension. Like, you're the expert. Do your homework, understand what you're trying to fix and how to fix it. Don't just think, I'm gonna grab some cold glue and a slide hammer and I'm gonna walk up to any panel anywhere on it and start pulling damage out. If you put this right here on the edge of this body line, you don't get anything. So watch. Doesn't do nothing. I mean, I was moving the whole freaking door. So, understanding what what you're trying to accomplish with the tools in your hand, and where they have a place and where they don't have a place. So, hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this went over some stuff. Guys, I'm sure that we missed a ton of stuff. Like, this was not meant to be an all-inclusive class on cold glue. There's lots of things we're still trying to learn and discover about it, and there's still tools to be developed, and even probably some glues to be developed. But we have an awesome industry, and every day there's coming out with new things that only make us better, faster, more skilled technicians, and these are just arrows in our quiver to make us better, make us have cleaner repairs, faster repairs, whatever it is. If you're doing hail damage, if you're doing big smashes, but also, get yourself some training, get yourself some understanding of the product, of metalwork. Go to some of those advanced skill seminars, learn from some guys who understand metal flow. Go talk to the tool builders who build these things, whether or not the cold glue guys or the guys who make the stuff, and understand why they made it and what the reason was for it. There's lots of content out there now that you can find those answers, and it's only there to make yourself better. So we hope this was helpful. Thank you for spending the whatever time it was to watch this. And please, if you have a suggestion of something we could do better next time, maybe we'll do another one, depending on what kind of comments we get or depending on what kind of feedback we get.
Maybe do one in the winter.
Maybe we'll do one in the winter. It's a good idea. When it gets cold outside here in Florida, and we'll see what the ambient temperature does differently.
And maybe if you're in some other part of the country and you want to do something like this, please do it so we can get as much information as we can on these different cold glues.
Yeah. Yes. It's support for our industry to keep this development going and keep this understanding and this knowledge going. So anything you can contribute to that conversation would be helpful. Thank you for allowing us to contribute to that conversation.
See ya.